Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said there could be a deal to release the Israeli hostages, but he declined to provide details for fear of disrupting the plan. Let's have a quick listen at what he had to say.
Close are you to reaching a deal to get more of the hostages out?
Well, Kirsten, I can say that we weren't close at all until we started the ground operation. In fact, we heard that there's an impending deal of this kind or of that kind, and then we learned that it was all hokum. It was nothing. But the minute we started the ground operation, things began to change.
So is there a potential deal, Mr. Prime Minister? Is there a potential deal?
There could be, but I think the less I say about it, the more I'll increase the chances that it materializes. And it's a result of pressure, military pressure.
Netanyahu there. So, Rob, we heard there, he hinted, didn't he, at some kind of progress, really, on the release of hostages. But then things seem to end on a rather gloomier note at the end of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what he was basing his optimism on, or relative optimism on Sunday. But yeah, he did give that impression. But by the end of the day, Hamas was saying that there will be no further negotiations on the hostage release while the fighting goes on around the Al-Shifa hospital. And for its part, there was a moment yesterday as well, on Sunday as well, when Netanyahu appeared to suggest that there may be an opening for an extended pause, not a ceasefire. He refuses to use that word, but for an extended pause, but only to row back on it later and said that there will be no moment when Israel will stop the fighting because that will encourage Hamas. And as we heard in that clip from him just now, he says it's thanks to the ground offensive that Hamas is even considering the possibility of releasing hostages. So we still have a complete divide between the positions of Hamas on the one hand, Israel on the other, and to a degree too, between Israel and its allies, the United States, European Union members, the United Kingdom and others as well.
Rob, let's take a step back and just look at where we are in the whole situation. The question that keeps coming up, of course, is what is Israel's endgame here? What are they actually hoping to achieve? Because it's getting to the point, isn't it, or it's certainly going to come to the point where Israel has to offer something, if you like, to the Palestinian people to keep the Gaza Strip operating.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. There has been an understanding among Israel's supporters, now this has sustained Israel over the last few weeks, that it has a right to self-defense. But there's a growing body of opinion that is saying there has to be proportionality, first of all, and there has to be some indication of intent about what it wants to achieve, that it shouldn't just be about vengeance, or even remotely about vengeance, although many people are beginning to think that that is the prime motive at the moment. So we've heard conflicting points of view coming out of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu seems to be saying that there can be no role for the Palestinian Authority in Gaza. That's a new development, and certainly one that is at cross purposes with what we've been hearing for the US administration, from Joe Biden, from Anthony Blinken, his Secretary of State, who have been suggesting that there could be an expanded role for the Palestinian Authority, which is currently only active in the West Bank, to take on the Gaza Strip as well, in a reformed role, perhaps with a new leadership, but certainly a role which would recognize the right of the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank to administer their own rights and perhaps to move forward towards a two-state solution, towards independence. Nothing of that from Benjamin Netanyahu at all. The US is determined, through Joe Biden, to offer something to the Palestinian people from this. So there is some hope as the Palestinians and the Israelis emerge from this awful war at the moment. Because the fear is that this just enters this endless cycle of violence, that you come out of one war and a couple of years down the road there's another one. Benjamin Netanyahu for the moment is saying that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are the only possible security for the situation in Gaza and for Israel. No suggestion of giving any room there at all. And now he's also, as we've just been saying, because of his rejection of the Palestinian Authority, it's not clear what he wants to be the administration in Gaza. Is this going to be some collection of Arab states coming together with the international community? Or he's not telling us. He's not giving any clues whatsoever. And frustration at some point very soon, I would have thought, is going to set in, particularly in the US, with that position. And at some point, I think Joe Biden is going to say, look, I've got political capital. We've given a lot to Israel over the last few weeks. It's time that Israel started giving something back to us.
Rob, thanks so much. Rob Parsons, our Chief Foreign Editor here on France 24.